All Progressives Congress in the 2024 governorship election in Kogi State. Usman Ododo made a promise to the people of the state bordering on good governance and leadership, infrastructural development and maintenance, healthcare and social welfare, agriculture and rural development, security and peace building, women empowerment and gender equality, and more. 1 year and about 3 months later, how far has Governor Usman Ododo gone in keeping with his confidence with the people of Kogi State? Joining us tonight to speak more on this is the Commissioner for Information, Kogi State, Kingsley Fanwo. Mr. Commissioner, good evening to you. Welcome to Politics Tonight.
Good evening, Nigerians, and good evening, viewers around the world. All
right, thanks a lot for joining us. So it's been a year and 3 months since your principal assumed office. As a point of being sworn in, some say his biggest challenge is to prove that it is not just continuing the old political system, but bringing real change. After about 100 days, his biggest critics say this early period was mainly about stabilizing governance, continuing inherited projects and signaling his commitment to security and grassroots development. What has changed since Governor Ododo assumed office?
Thank you very much. I would want to state the fact that the administration of His Excellency Alhaji Ahmed Usman Ododo, who prefers to be known as the chief servant of the state, came from the immediate past administration. And he was part of the immediate past administration for 8 years. He understood the policies, the programs, and also the driving points that were put in place to drive the state forward. And, coming into his administration, it is a mixture of what he is continuing from the immediate past administration and also his own initiatives and some of the policies that he has decided to put in place in order to advance the frontiers of development in the state. And there are key thematic areas of development. Number one of those areas is education. We also have healthcare delivery. We also have infrastructure. We also have a very aggressive drive for investment and also agriculture to be able to boost the economy of the state. And when you look at all of these areas, when you put them together, you see that the governor has performed so well in those thematic areas.
Interesting. And because you're talking about a 34-year-old state, and for many who have identified corruption and lack of accountability in governance, misplaced priorities, lack of inclusiveness of the people in governance, as some of the challenges that ravaged that state for so long. They look forward to a different nomenclature in describing a state like Kogi State. So let's start with education, just as you started. Before 2015, Kogi State's education landscape was a cause for worry. The performance of some of the students in external examinations like WAEC and NECO, even JAMB, was disheartening. But the administration of former Governor Yabelo shocked many with that groundbreaking achievements in the education sector, which was the allocation of about 20%, 30% of the budget to education in each fiscal year since 2021. How is this administration consolidating on that achievement?
Thank you very much. You would see that consistently from 2016, we were funding education very heavily, devoting huge resources into education because we know that education is the bedrock of development. So as a result, we have been able to identify the key areas through which education could be developed. And one of the areas is to first improve education infrastructure. We must make public schools attractive to the people. The people of Kogi State, the children of Kogi State must have confidence in public institutions of learning. And that was the first thing that we were able to do. It was started with what we call the Blue Revolution. The Blue Revolution was to ensure that we have excellent environment for teaching and learning. And I would say that every political ward of the 232 in the state had blocks of classrooms that were constructed state of the art and also equipped. We had furniture, modern furniture, classroom furniture in all of those blocks of classrooms to first make the classrooms, public schools, attractive to the children and the people of Kogi State. That was the first step. The second step, you know, when you work on the primary school education, you also have to look at the secondary school education. And we started what we call the model secondary schools in the state. We had one at Dankolo here that had been reported over and over again. It's one of the best public schools in Nigeria today. We have the same model in Ida. We have the same model in Kogi Central. We have the same model that is ongoing at a village called Okebukun in Kababunu local government area of the state. So we have these model schools to take care of the secondary school level of education. And also to the tertiary level, it has been very massive. In the last few years, you've seen that Kogi State has established 2 new universities. And that's why, you know, till date, the Commissioner for Education of the state is touted as someone who was able to oversee the establishment of 2 state universities in the state. We already had one before that, which is the Prince Abubakar University. We have the Confluence University of Science and Technology, which is in Osara. We also have the Kogi State University, which is in Kaba. And in all of these institutions, we are witnessing massive infrastructural development. We've turned all of those campuses to construction sites as we speak. Just last week, some projects were handed over to contractors in the Prince Abubakar University. And today, the governor was on hand at the Confluence University of Science and Technology to hand over also some projects that had to do with the construction of hostels for medical students and also quarters for doctors at the new Confluence University of Science and Technology Teaching Hospital in Okene. So these are some of the projects that are ongoing. Right. And also some months ago, hostel accommodation projects to get hostel accommodation for students were also handed over to us.
All right then, and no one needs to be told of how strategic this...
all of these projects in the state under the present dispensation. And I would be happy if you can allow me to deal with the last one. Okay. Having all of this infrastructure without teachers will always be a very serious issue. The difference between what we call the private schools and the public schools also has to do with the quality of staff that you have. And, you know, over and over again, consistently, the state has been employing teachers to be able to block that gap that has been noticed before 2015. So I would say that the present administration has been able to build on the legacy of the immediate past administration and have even surpassed that legacy, pumping more resources. And for the first time, you know, we are almost surpassing 30%, and the benchmark for UNESCO is 26%. That tells you that education is on the front burners as far as
so let's stay on this because you know, no one needs to be told of how strategic this heavy investment in education is. You've also said Kogi State is outspending 23 other states in education in 2025. When you compare our educational budget with our population, it's clear we are one of the most committed states to education. Those are your words. But what has been the impact on the high number of out-of-school children in the state?
Thank you very much. Some of these things are measurable. There are things that you could measure, and let me start by telling you that recently there was this Tulip International competition, and out of 7 medals, Kogi State was able to win 4 our secondary school students. And also, you would see the results in the number of out-of-school children in the entire northern Nigeria. Kogi has the lowest number of out-of-school children in the entire northern Nigeria, and they're one of the best in the entire country. And this boils down to the policies, the confidence we have brought back to public schools, and also a lot of our policies, including ensuring that we have a law to guide how we operationalize our education. So
let's look at the numbers, because you know it's easy to say all of this, Mr. Commissioner. Let's look at the numbers, and I ask because you know one thing every aspiring governor campaigns with is education. They say because You know, they know education is the bedrock of any society. But most of them derail from these promises, whether intentionally or otherwise. They pump money into that sector, no matter how little. But transparency and accountability is always the challenge with those in charge of the sector. Statistics from the Federal Ministry of Education showed that the number of out-of-school children in Kogi State stood at over 500,000, and to be very specific, 554,943 between 2014 and 2015. So how low is that number today?
Thank you very much. I may not be able to give you in terms of numbers right now, but there are verifiable statistics that you could verify to find out the states and the number of out-of-school children in the entire northern Nigeria, and you will realize that Kogi State has the lowest. And right. I was just saying something that it boils down to our policies. Kogi State has an education law now. It is not just that the government must provide education for our children. It is now a matter of law, and it is not what is going to bring any cost to the parents of these children. Kogi State has ensured that our free education is total. It's not that to say they should not pay tuition fee, but they should come and pay registration fee, right from common entrance, BESE to WASE. Every examination in Kogi State, including JAM, is free. Kogi State government is paying for that. So what we are doing is to ensure that from primary school to secondary school, you don't pay a dime. That makes it convenient for you to be able to come to school. Right. We have made the environment better by improving infrastructure, and we have made it free for you. Not that you will now get to SS3, for instance, and say you cannot afford a NECO or WAEC. No. Kogi State government
all right, that's okay. Thank you for that. That was quite instrumental.
But from that, when you graduate, when you leave the secondary school and get to the higher institution, the Kogi State government is also paying bursary. Hundreds of millions have gone into bursary payment under the present administration of Alhaji Ahmed Usman Ododo. So it is convenient for people. We are making it a matter of compulsion for every child to be educated. It is their right, and the Kogi State government is rising to the occasion to ensure that it is free.
All right, Mr. Commissioner. That sounds good, but you know, from our conversation, a lot of attention is on tertiary institutions of learning. Is it safe for me to assume that infrastructure at the basic education level has been neglected?
That's what I said that initially, that, you know, flowing from the immediate past administration, we had what we call the Blue Roof Revolution, and every of the 239 wards in the state had blocks of classrooms that also had furniture. We also employed teachers, quality teachers, to be able to pass knowledge to the students. And also, we start remodeling secondary schools infrastructure. And I just showed you the one at Adankolo here in Lokoja. But it is not just an urban center thing. I've had a lot of ethnic commentators saying that, oh no, we have poor classrooms, we have poor educational infrastructure, but they have not seen what has gone into education between 2016 and now. We are remodeling our secondary schools, and some of the people that are talking have secondary schools in their local government already remodeled. We have new ones coming up, and these are the highest standards that can compete with anyone in the country today. So we are not neglecting that. We are pumping, in fact, more resources into ensuring we have good infrastructure at the primary and secondary school level. That is the level where you can get it right or wrong. You need to encourage them to be able to come to school at the primary school level and then graduate to the secondary school level before you can use that number to feed your tertiary institutions. And that is what Kogi State is doing excellently well, especially having the kind of commissioner for education that we have, that is ensuring that all of these policies are well implemented.
And you know that if the state is not safe, this free education policy goes to waste. So what is the governor doing about the operations of bandits in Kogi East and West? I mean, recently there's been issue of kidnapping in Lokoja local government area. You're also looking at Kababunu and Dekina local government area. What's the governor doing?
Let me say that Kogi State is grateful to the federal government, and Nigeria also is grateful to Kogi State, because a safe Kogi is a safe Nigeria. You know, we are bordered by 10 other states, including the Federal Capital Territory. So if there is any insecurity in Kogi State, it will be of concern to the entire nation. And that is why, apart from education, healthcare, and agriculture, security is one sector that is taking the chunk of the resources of the state. We are doing things in a very different way under the Ododo administration. And what we are doing is the bottom to the top approach, giving the communities more responsibilities in ensuring security in their domains by, you know, engaging, recruiting, training, and engaging local vigilante men and women to be able to provide intelligence, to be able to attack every act of insecurity in their domain, and to be able to network with the conventional security agencies to guarantee security in the state. We are aware of the bombardment in the northeast and the northwest, and we know that we are the receiving end, being the actual center of the nation. But I can assure you that the government is rising to the occasion. Just a few weeks ago, there was a major operation that neutralized hundreds of these bandits, kidnappers, and terrorists. We lost about 3 operatives, and we were able to neutralize hundreds of them and seized a lot of their motorcycles that they used to navigate all those difficult to reach areas. So it is something that we are positive about. It is something that the state government is doing everything, especially the Safe School Initiative. We are not getting the kind of funding that some states in the northeast or northwest are getting, but we are doing a lot to ensure that we guarantee the safety of our students. You know, a couple of months ago, some students were kidnapped from the Confluence University of Science and Technology. You need to go to our higher institutions and see the kind of projects that are ongoing now. And we are even injecting technology into ensuring that we are able to guarantee the security of our students. So it is not just about the general security of the state, but also guaranteeing security, because for people to be able to be glad about going to school, they must also be guaranteed their security. And that's what we are doing in the state right now.
And it's interesting to hear you talk about how Kogi State, being a north-central state, may worsen insecurity in the country if not addressed. But let's talk about health, because, you know, before now, some of the challenges of healthcare delivery in Kogi State ranged from lack of personnel development in the healthcare services, inadequate provision of essential drugs in all of the facilities of the state. Some have talked about lack of proper immunization programs, poor treatment of epidemic diseases, poor funding, lack of qualified personnel, zero motivation of healthcare workers towards service delivery, especially in the rural areas. The former governor addressed some of these challenges, because I know that there was a time he approved 100% hazard allowance for medical doctors and other health workers. There was allocation of 25 ambulances to all LGAs. He released millions of naira to settle all their standard school fees of medical students on scholarship. The last quarter of 2024, there were complaints that in some of the PHCs, there are not enough equipment or facilities to do simple malaria or typhoid tests. Most times you see people going far outside the immediate communities to carry out such tests. What can you tell us about the state of those PHCs now, since Governor Ododo assumed office?
Thank you very much. That's why, you know, from the flow we had from the immediate past administration, we were talking about continuity, and we've named this administration the Advanced New Direction Administration. You know, the previous administration of the former governor, Alhaji Yahaya Bello, devoted a lot of time to ensure that he gives us state-of-the-art secondary and tertiary health institutions. One of them is the one that was recently converted to the Confluence University of Science and Technology.
So why that conversion? Let's quickly talk about that.
What this administration is doing is to ensure that we strengthen the primary healthcare system in the state. You know, when you talk about the tertiary healthcare institutions, they are necessary for very complex situations. But the primary healthcare system is the closest to the grassroots. And that is why the administration has taken it upon itself to remodel about 370 primary healthcare centers in the state. And, it's not just about remodeling it. It's also about strengthening them to be able to provide secondary healthcare services. So for very simple procedures, instead of going to a specialist hospital or a general hospital, the primary healthcare center in your village will be able to carry out those things. We are not just remodeling them, we are strengthening them, and we are also equipping them with the requisite equipment and also the requisite technical ability to be able to deliver secondary healthcare services to the people. And we are also engaging technology in these remodeled primary healthcare centers to be able to get in touch with the closest doctors. These are some of the things that we are putting in place to either you put them, you digitize them, or you at the same time you ensure that you have the right personnel at those primary healthcare centers. All of these things are happening as we speak. About over 370 primary healthcare centers are being remodeled as we speak. We are not just doing that. We are providing water. We are powering the water with solar. We are
all right, I hear you. You know, I'm asking because I've had several.
And reduce.
Mr. Commissioner, kindly hold on, sir. I'm asking because I've had several conversations with Professor Ali Pate, who is the minister overseeing the Ministry of Health, and his colleague, Dr. Ohiri of the NHIA. The ministry is looking forward to increasing the number of primary health facilities nationwide from 8,000 to 12,000 within the next 3 years. What's the state government's level of commitment to this course?
Yes, if they had the plan, the state government is already implementing the plan. I think that is just the situation. Okay. We are creating the base to be able to take more. We are remodeling, strengthening 376 at the moment. I think it's going to rise above that number with the way we are going about it. And all of these things are happening simultaneously. So commissioning is going to happen at once. So if we have more, and when we have more, we have already created the foundation, the platform to be able to accommodate more.
All right. So I find it very shocking to hear that the state-of-the-art reference hospital has been converted to Confluence University of Science and Technology Teaching Hospital. I know that was a hospital that reportedly could accurately investigate and treat renal and coronary disorders for which people traveled abroad. What informed that decision? Mr. Commissioner, can you hear me? Did you get my question?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly, but I didn't get the question.
I wanted you to talk to me about the state-of-the-art reference hospital, which you said has been converted to the Confluence University of Science and Technology Teaching Hospital. So I said I knew based on the conversation I had with the former commissioner, that was a hospital that reportedly could accurately investigate and treat renal disorders for which people traveled abroad. What informed that decision?
Yeah, what informed the decision was to make Kogi the center for health services, not just in Nigeria, but in Africa. A lot of people across Africa travel to Germany and just a few places that have such hyperbaric chamber. But, in Nigeria now, you can have access to that at the Confluence University of Science and Technology Teaching Hospital that is in Okene. So we have all of these facilities. We have put in place all of these facilities to make Kogi, to empower Kogi and raise the capacity to be able to attract people all across the African continent to visit for these services. So it's like Kogi paying its own due and rendering services, and not just to Nigerians alone, but the entire African continent. The idea is to make Kogi the epicenter of healthcare services in Africa.
All right. And I'm sure you know that Mr. Governor has been accused of being behind the push for the recall of Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan so as to make way for his predecessor, Yaya Bello. What do you have to say about that?
I enjoy discussing development, and I enjoy discussing projects. And, in the last few minutes, we've been discussing the heroics, the projects of the administration of Alhaji Ahmed Usman Ododo, the chief servant of the state. The governor yesterday was inspecting a lot of road projects across the state. We were expecting him back in Lokoja today, but he could not come back again today because he was also handing over projects to contractors and also inspecting a lot of the projects. So it is a very busy administration. It is an administration that does not want any kind of distraction. And, it is an administration that will start playing politics maybe in 2027. But for now, the administration is concentrating on delivering democracy dividends to the people. If you come to the streets of Lokoja or any of the villages,
I know the governor is busy. I know the governor is busy.
They will tell you, they will tell you that the governor, they are happy with the governor because the governor is concentrating on the job of serving the people. A recall is a political thing. And it is done by, politicians, people who having a lot of political permutations, people who are disgruntled because of certain actions or inactions. I think we should just leave that to them. There's a group that is doing it. They are not faceless. They've come out to say they are behind the recall. So if someone has come out to admit that they are behind the recall, so why are we still saying some other people we are suspecting some other? No, you don't have to suspect, because some people have come out to say we are behind it, and these are the reasons why we are doing it.
So, for Mr. Commissioner, this is a simple question for which you could have answered, a yes or no. I just put it to you that there are some people saying that the governor is behind the push for the recall of the senator. This is a yes or no answer. Is Governor Ododo behind the push for the recall of Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan?
It can't be a yes. It can't be a yes or no. It can't be a yes or no answer.
What you've just done is you have just dismissed this question.
Some people can say anything. Some people can say anything. Some people also say that our classrooms in Kogi are bad. Until now that we have come out to show the world how our classrooms are and how people are happy learning in them. So some people can say a lot of things. Let us leave those people saying it to be saying it while we concentrate on what we are doing. The governor is the governor of the entire state. It's not the governor of Kogi Central. It's not the governor of Kogi West. It's not the governor of Kogi East, but the governor of Kogi State. So it cannot be
and that will lead me to my next question, Commissioner. The governor is a governor for the East, for the West, and the Center. The Central, rather. The senator is a strong woman from Kogi who is loved and accepted by her people. A continuity would be of benefit to the state, and I'm sure you know that is the case. So there should be a functional and working relationship between the governor and herself, shouldn't there?
The government doesn't field candidates. For instance, I'm from Kogi West. I have no say on who becomes the senator of Kogi Central or the senator of Kogi East. The people will decide at the appropriate time. When it is time for the people to choose who to represent them, they will choose. You are in Lagos or in Abuja. You are not probably from Kogi State. The people who have elected anyone, the people who have elected the governor, for instance, will be able to access him in 2027 and know whether he should return or not. So the people who have elected either the senators, the House of Representatives, should be left to decide whether those people have met their expectations and deserve to be re-elected or replaced.
All right. I know that Mr. Governor was recently in Okehi local government, where he went to inspect some projects, reportedly over 50 projects. How instrumental are these projects in the lives of the people of the local government? I mean, it's only political to hear that the local government chairman endorsed him for a second term. This is just his first term. But the people should be the priority. So what are the projects and how crucial are these projects to the living conditions of these people?
The projects are many, ranging from road projects to health infrastructure, to educational infrastructure and all of that. He also, a lot of the government teams are also in the East and the West inspecting these projects. So, they have direct impacts on the people. And, when you talk about these health institutions, the people are glad that government has strengthened the primary healthcare centers. For instance, the one in my village, the one in the village next to me, I saw them. I saw work going on. I saw solar power being installed and all of that to be able to power the equipment that will be put there and all of that. So the people are seeing, firsthand, the impact of what the government is doing. The road projects also, they are feeling the impact. So it is not about us coming out in 2027 to say, oh, we have done this road. The people will be telling the world that he has done this road for them. So it is of direct impact, and they are benefiting directly from those projects.
Still on road projects, Kogi State is connected to a number of other states. As such, there are a number of boundary roads linking Kogi and other states. One of such is the roads linking Kogi and Ekiti State. The roads are not in good condition at all, and So what is government doing about this?
Yes, what we can do is to continue to have a dialogue and conversation with the federal authorities, because these are federal roads. But we cannot just sit by and say they are federal roads. They are being used by our people, and on several occasions the state government had also intervened in ensuring that we fix some of these roads. We will not be able to fix all at the same time, but the state government is doing a lot
as the state government fixed some of them. Okay.
And I didn't get you.
There have been reports and accusations that the governor is favoring his own region, particularly Central Senatorial District of the states. There are growing concerns that development projects and appointments are concentrated in his home region. How do you respond to these allegations?
Yes, a lot of people, like I say a lot of things. There are people who have not come out of the ethnic bigotry that predated 2015. And that's why you still see them saying some of these things. You see people snapping primary schools that were not improved in the last 40 years. They would leave the new ones that have been built to replace those ones and be snapping the ones that, their ethnic leaders left unattended to. But what I can tell you is that, from 2016, the issue of favoring any part of the state had ended. Let me shock you with this revelation. There were some. I won't mention names directly so that I would not be accused of Let me say that there are places in Kogi East that had no electricity before Alhaji Yahaya Bello became the governor, and he was the one that gave them electricity. A lot of their roads were fixed in the last 9 years. We are still fixing some as we speak. The healthcare infrastructure that bothers on expanding access to primary healthcare delivery is covering the entire state. Right. And I will tell you that even Kogi Central has the least of the number. And when you talk about some of these model secondary schools, the one in Adankolo, the one in Okebukun, the one in Ajiolo that was remodeled, the one in Ida, all of these are outside of the central district of the governor. And he's pumping resources to ensure that they are done. That's why we are saying in the present day Kogi State, under the governorship of Alhaji Ahmed Usman Ododo, nobody remembers where he come from. Right. What matters is the development of the state. And that's why development.
And how important these kinds of feedbacks are. But then, what specific plans are on ground to ensure that all ethnic and regional groups in Kogi State feel equally represented in this government?
They are already equally represented. When you talk about equal representation, they're already equally represented. I am from Kogi West. The SSG of the state is from Kogi West. You have a lot of commissioners from Kogi West, from Kogi East, and the way the state is being managed under the immediate past and the present administration is to ensure equal representation. There's equity, there's fairness. And, I can go to Ida today and feel at home. Another person can go to Kenya and feel at home. We have been able to achieve the unity of the state. We cannot say we have achieved that 100%. That's why we still see some ethnic bigots will still want to put out stories to tend to divide the state. But we are more united than we were before 2015.
All right, Mr. Commissioner, let's talk about housing development. I mean, there's a Ministry of Housing which is geared towards the provision of affordable houses for the citizens and address the acute housing deficits in the state. But how do such initiatives work without a strategic policy or policies on housing development? Why did the state government decide to domesticate the national housing policy?
Thank you very much. Currently, we have urban development plan. And let me also remind you that Kogi is running on a 32-year development plan. We also have what we call the Kogi State Urban Development Plan. It is a policy document that is guiding us like a Bible, like a Quran, to be able to ensure that we do not only provide housing, but to provide those houses at the right places to ensure that we do not congest certain areas. There is a policy in place, and we are following that policy. It is not just about building houses. We are having a lot of handshake with the Federal Housing Authority. They've been here. The governor received them. They had strategic meetings that will begin to yield fruits in the coming months and in the coming years. It is a long-term plan. You know, housing is not like remodeling or building new primary healthcare centers or hospitals. It takes a lot of plan, and that's what we are putting to work right now. And I know that in the next couple of months, in the next couple of years, those things will start bearing fruits.
All right.
But I can assure you that we have a policy, we have an intentional policy that we are implementing in that sector.
Probably you should talk to us about this urban planning policy, because what your people are saying is that Kogi State has its own peculiarity and challenges. Domesticating federal government policy is a lazy man approach to governance, especially if the government is serious or honest about coming up with policies that will checkmate the excesses of landlords in the state. I wonder how you react to this, and what steps are being taken to regulate informal settlements and ensure proper urban planning in rapidly growing areas like Lokoja.
Thank you very much. That's why I said, you know, that we already put in place what we call the urban renewal, especially in areas like Lokoja. Let me give you an instance. We used to have an international market that was at the center of the federal highway and the road entering the state capital that has been killing a lot of our people. Right now, the administration of Alhaji Ododo has decided to move that market to a better place where people will be better protected, where we'll be able to, you know, spread our wings, and then the people will be able to reap the benefits of having that. This is part of our urban renewal plan. And, you know, it is also, it boils down to strengthening your land administration, which we have digitized in the state. It is not just about taking land somewhere and start building houses. No, you have to follow that urban development. There is a law. You know, the bill establishing that law has been signed, and there is a law on urban development in Kogi State. So people who violate that law are prosecuted, and that's why you are seeing a lot of sanity, not just in Lokoja, but in most of the parts of the state as we speak.
All right, I want to take you up on workers' welfare and the implementation of minimum wage. How far has the government gone with making Kogi workers very comfortable?
Thank you very much. This is a topic I'm always very interested in discussing. And you would see that the immediate past administration was able to take salary payments to certain percentages. This administration has been able to build on that, and currently, if you are a Kogi State civil servant, you get, and pensioners, you get your 100% every month. Whether you are a state civil servant, I'm aware the local government administration that are fully autonomous in the state are also doing that. You know, it is not just about that. You know, when the minimum wage issue was on board, as the federal government was negotiating, the governor the chief servant of the state, who was also a former civil servant, also put a team together, waiting for the president to sign so that the team would immediately swing to work. And immediately the president signed, the team went to work, and in few days, we were one of the first to also sign our own into law. And we increased it from what the federal government agreed with Labour, and we are paying 72,500. And we're one of the first states to pay a minimum wage to workers. When you talk about the welfare of workers, the state government has done a lot, and that's why it is not always easy for you to receive awards from Labour. Historically, government and Labour are usually at loggerheads. But in Kogi State, you see the Nigerian Union of Teachers, the NLC, all of them saying that in 2027 they want to man the polling unit so that the governor will be able to continue to see to their welfare. So it is a vote of confidence massively on the government. All
right. Quickly before I let you go, Mr. Commissioner, apart from the encumbrances and challenges which come naturally with the office of a governor, many say former Governor Yaya Bello was also determined to make young people proud, especially as someone who made a complete change from the former dominance of elderly people in the saddle of the state affairs. Whether or not he succeeded is still a subject of debate. But can you say the governor, who is also a young person, would make young people proud?
He's already doing that. He's a young man. The former governor ensured that he handed over to someone younger than him. And, this governor has also ensured that young people are in government in Kogi State, not just in government, but a lot of other settings that determine the progress and development of the state. And, his idea has always been that you cannot discuss the future of the youth without them. They have to be at the table. They have to be there. They have to be part of that conversation. They have to be part of that policy-making processes. And that is why you have more young people in his administration than old people. I will tell you that more than 75% of his cabinet are people that are below the age of 50. That shows that young people are given the opportunity to be able to serve the state. And I would want to say that for the first time in the history of the state, you have the Commissioner of Youth, who is actually a youth, actually a very young person, who is also representing the youth constituency well, and also marshalling all of the policies of the administration aimed at ensuring youth development in the state. So I would say that the administration of Alhaji Ahmed Usman Ododo, just like that of his predecessor, is a government of the youth for the generality of the people of Kogi State.
All right then, Mr. Fanwo, great conversation tonight. And from that conversation, it's obvious that the governor has great vision for the state. And from here, we wish him all the very best. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Kingsley Fanwo is the Commissioner for Information, Kogi State. Thank you so much for your time. Please have a great evening.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for showing the world our beautiful schools, our beautiful infrastructure. I thank you.
All right. Thank you. And thank you very much.